How can these powerful ministries be so deceived? It is because they have bought the false narrative, an untruthful narrative that is designed to exploit them, to exploit us. One of the biggest examples of falsified narratives these storytellers inundate us with every night on the 5 o'clock news is that cops are just hunting down and gunning down unarmed black men on the daily. Here's a couple examples. Here's one example of a false narrative. LeBron James exposing the false narrative. In a now famous tweet, NBA star LeBron James wrote, quote, "We are literally, not figuratively, not metaphorically, we are literally hunted every day, every time we step foot outside the comfort of our homes." Or here's another example of a false narrative. The cop-killing pandemic. A New York Times headline proclaimed last June, "Pandemic within a pandemic. Coronavirus and police brutality roil black community." The story quoted a protest organizer who said, "I'm just as likely to die from a cop as I am from COVID." Not to be outdone, the Washington Post headlined a story, "Police killing black people is a pandemic too," with a subhead stating, "State violence is a public health crisis."
And actually, the new CDC director that Biden put in place, she said the very same thing. Racism today is a public health crisis.
That's right. Yes. And so let's talk about Voddie, who is lives in Zambia, in Africa now. This is the Zambian experience. Look how the false narrative is carried in America to literally the other side of the world. Here's a quote from the book about Zambians' thoughts on the murderous police in America. In fact, the response of Zambians to recent racial incidents in the United States served as a catalyst for me to write this book. The police in Zambia do not protect and serve the citizenry. They protect and serve themselves, usually to your property. They generally do not respond to crime, so you don't call the cops here, right? You don't call the cops. Most often, you see them stopping cars looking for violations. Wow. When they find one, they pull motorists over to the side of the road where fines are paid in cash. They also beat thieves and other criminals upon arrest, and recording such an incident with a cell phone will earn you similar treatment. So when Zambians began to ask me questions about the murderous and corrupt American police hunting down black men, I could not be silent. So in other words, living in Zambia, the police there are so horrific, so nasty. The police in America pale in comparison to the Zambian police, but yet the falsified, exploited narrative has gone through the entire world. That literally on the other side of the planet, Zambians are asking American Dr. Voddie Baucham, "What in the world? Your country is messed up.
Yeah.
Your cops are literally on the daily hunting down, busting down doors, ripping people from cars. They're hunting unarmed black men. This is crazy, Voddie." And like you said, it was literally a catalyst for him to say, "I've got to write this book."
Yeah, this is going to be, what I'm going to say is going to be a thought that might even be challenging to some people, who watch us regularly, who are fans of us, but definitely to, people in this movement, definitely to just the main general public of America, is that America is probably one of the least, if not the least racist countries in the world.
And Voddie has said that.
Yes. He said that in his book. And people don't realize that and this is another thing that he said. it's just a very good point that when you go to other countries in the rest of the world, you think about India, you think about, East Asia and the Pacific Islands, you think about the Netherlands. When you go to countries in the rest of the world, they're incredibly homogenous. It's one type of people. And America is just not like that.
Well, what America is known as the melting pot of the world.
And nowhere in the world does any country, I mean, I'm even talking about Europe, I'm talking about Britain, I'm talking about Canada. There is not another country in the world that has the type of protection of human rights like America does.
That's right. So, no, he had to write this book because he couldn't stand it any longer.
Yeah.
Because Christians are supposed to stand for truth. And he, like he has said before, he's the first one to stand for justice and to stand against, unjust circumstances. But that is why he cannot get behind the current social justice movement.
Yeah.
Because it's not based on truth. It's based on falsified information in which is designed to exploit people for their Marxist gains. Right? So what is actually the truth? Here's a quote. In a recent man-on-the-street interview conducted by Prager University, 3 young black men were asked how many unarmed black men the police killed in 2019. About 1,000, said one. At least 1,000, said the second. The third estimated 1,400. When asked how many unarmed white men were killed by police that same year, their answers ranged from 4 to 14. The young men were astonished to learn that only 19 white men and 9 black men had been killed by police in 2019.